Hello everybody! JGC Anime here, and today we are going to be reviewing KamiKatsu Working for God in a Godless World. So without further ado, let's just hop right into it. So, what is the story of KamiKatsu? Basically, it's where we start following this boy Yukito, who, after his father decides to send him on a trial for their god, he gets sent into another world where he now finds out this is a world where gods don't exist, and there's this whole murder system where if you don't accept the fact that you have to die someday, you're kind of messed up, and then you get sent to these isolation camps, and he makes friends with people in those isolation camps. And now he's trying to change this world, as the god that his family worshipped is now trying to protect him, and so he tries to help spread the word of this god in this godless world. And that's the best I can really describe it, so I hope that's fine, and we're just gonna roll with it. So, in terms of spoiler-free thoughts, honestly, this anime was a lot more fun than I thought it was going to be. I heard from people that it's one of those it's so bad it's good anime because of its terrible CGI, which I'm sure plenty of you have seen at this point. But as someone who wasn't too sure what to expect going into this, I was genuinely surprised just how many actually really good moments were in this show. I wouldn't say it's perfect. In fact, there's quite a few times I'll talk about in the spoiler section where I was actually kind of uncomfortable. But more often than not, I found myself really invested in the story, and I found it way easier to just enjoy it as long as I kept the mindset of, this is stupid, just roll with it. Because if I tried going into this with an actual mindset of, is this going to be a good show, I probably wouldn't enjoy it as much as I did. But from where I watched things, I had a great time. I really did enjoy a lot of this show. There weren't moments that were as good, but overall, I definitely found myself really enjoying Yukito's adventures as well as with his god, Mitama, and all the other characters in this cast. More often than not, I found myself really interested in what they were doing and how their lives played out. And even when we have some other characters as well who kind of appear later on that I'll again talk about in the spoiler section, more often than not, I was really invested. I found myself interested in what was happening in the story, and I think KamiKatsu is just in general a fun show. Is it perfect? No. If I had to compare it to other shows I've watched, it's not perfect. It's very much a show that you don't watch with your brain on. You watch it without really thinking. You just kind of enjoy it for the fun of it. That is what this kind of show is. If you try to go into this thinking about every single little detail, you're not gonna have a great time. You're gonna keep thinking, well, but that doesn't make sense, but what about that? What about that? You just don't watch with that mindset. Just watch with the mindset of, this is stupid, roll with it. In my opinion, that is definitely the best way to enjoy it, as that's the way I watched it, and I had a great time while watching, for the most part. Again, we'll talk about more of that in the spoiler section, but overall, I very much enjoyed this anime and had a very good time. So, yeah. There's a little more I want to kind of talk about that doesn't really go into spoilers, and I think that would probably have to be kind of how I feel about the way they handle some of their pacing moments, where more often than not, the pacing can be a bit more abysmal. I will say that much. I don't hate the pacing, but from watching episode 1, they tried to cram way too much into episode 1. Again, I'm not going to go into spoilers about this right now, but in episode 1, they jumped from thing to thing to thing to thing to thing, that by the time the first episode was over, all I could think was, what? Even with my brain off and not really paying too much attention to what was really happening, there was constant jumps in time and moments that felt like they really should have progressed to them rather than just kind of happen. And it's just that there were just so many moments where I felt like, wait, how did we get here? Wait, how did we, what's happening? Oh, wait, how did that happen? That's definitely one of the show's kind of biggest flaws, where while weirdly enough, it makes sense quite a bit of the time, there are those rare occasions where I'm just like, wait, how did we get to this? Wait, how? So they do have a few minor pacing issues here and there, but it is kind of crazy that for a show that clearly has no idea what it's doing, and it's just kind of doing whatever, it has so much fun with its story, and I really do like how things play out more often than not. And overall, I enjoyed it. I wouldn't say it's perfect. There are plenty of flaws, but I still had a good time. And yeah. That's all I can really say without spoiling anything, so we're just gonna hop into the spoiler section now. Here's a timestamp to when the spoilers end. If you have seen the show, I'd recommend sticking around and hearing my thoughts, but if you haven't, just skip to the end so you don't get any spoilers. But if you don't mind spoilers, or you have seen it, I'd recommend sticking around and hearing my thoughts. And yeah, I'm gonna count up from 5, and I'm going to enter the spoiler section. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay. So, now that we can dive into spoilers, I can talk a little bit more in detail about how I feel about certain things. Now, people kept telling me, and by telling me, I mean the internet, and I just happened to see this on the internet, that the CGI was terrible for the show, and there's even this one scene where they literally just put an animation filter over someone cutting some grass, and it's just as bad as people say, and I had an amazing laugh at it. Like, I just had so much fun whenever the bad CGI and stuff came on, because I knew it was going to be bad, and just getting to see how laughably bad it was just made me laugh so much more than it would have if I had seen it on its own. And just the fact that people kept saying how bad CGI was, I was thinking, it's probably going to be bad, but maybe not that bad. And I would literally just burst out laughing. And it's just like, it's one of those things where you just can't help but have a great laugh at it because of how bad it is. And yeah, so there's not really much I could really say on the CGI that hasn't been said already, other than, yeah, it's as hilariously bad as people say it is, and it was just amazing. But moving past that for now, one kind of negative thing I want to talk about is character dynamics, where sometimes the friendships make sense and the story's progression makes sense, but there are other times where you're just like, wait, this happened this fast? Like, for example, there's this one knight called Bertrand in the story, and after being revived after being killed by Mitama, he accidentally becomes a girl. And while it seems like it's gonna be kind of an interesting thing where she can't go back, you know, Bertrand as a girl now can't go back to the capital since they don't recognize her, and she doesn't like the people in the camps, I thought maybe it'd be an interesting kind of dynamic thing where she wouldn't know what to do and was conflicted on everything before our protagonist decided to be all like, hey, yo, you want to join us? We'll help you out. But no, she ends up being befriended by our main MC, Yukito, almost immediately, literally within like the next episode, instantly on board with it all. And that's not the last time this type of thing happens in the story, where characters will just make a sudden tone shift in their personalities, and it doesn't make too much sense, but it's just like, okay, well, this is happening now. But yeah, I didn't mind it. I just felt like there could have been a little more developments here and there over what they did, and I don't hate it, but I don't love it. But yeah, moving on to something else I want to talk about. I now want to talk about what I was referring to before when I said there were some things that I didn't like as much. And one of those things is one story arc where Yukito and Mitama, as well as some friends, go to a new religion that's being formed by one of the main bad guys, the Archons, where it's a whole religion based around intercourse. And I don't know, just the whole situation, I'm used to seeing that kind of stuff every now and then in anime. I'm pretty sure Mushoku Tensei does it at least a few times. In fact, I'm pretty positively sure it happens. But I don't know, just this show's way of going about that whole concept storyline really just made me feel uncomfortable, especially with its weird stiff pacing playing a role again, where one moment you're one place, suddenly you're in the next. It's just like, it jumps from thing to thing, and it doesn't really help that this show's understanding of how much ecchi moments you should put in a show, they clearly did not understand what they were doing with it. Like, usually when you're making a show that's in the ecchi-like genre, you usually have a certain degree of it and you kind of balance it out. I know it sounds stupid to say, but usually it's pretty balanced out for the most part. But in this show, they really don't know how to balance it all out. And honestly, that whole storyline just made me uncomfortable. I just wanted it to be done. I wanted it to be over. And I was so glad when it wrapped up. And yeah, the whole storyline just exists. It was definitely my least favorite part of the season, as more often than not, I was just like, wait, what the frick is happening? Please stop! And yeah, it's definitely the weakest part by far. The whole character of Dakini and her whole religion in that is very weak, and just, I don't know, I just didn't like him. I didn't like it that much. And then it was followed up by a storyline that I didn't hate, as it was the final storyline of the whole season, and it wasn't the worst, but I wouldn't say it was the best either, where another Archon shows up who goes by the name of Gaia, and I don't know, I just didn't like her that much. I didn't think she was a character that really deserved to stick around, and it seems to be something that just kind of revolves around some of the cast here, where some of them just don't have personalities I want to see more of. And the biggest flaw is definitely the fact that this show hates killing off main characters. It's fine with killing off characters who have no relevance to any of the story, but if it's a main character, they refuse to kill them at all. Like, by the end of the story, when Gaia kidnaps Yukito and tries to basically torture him because he can't die, by the end of the story, I just thought, okay, she deserves to die. Kill her. Get her out of here. She's done. She's finished. But no, instead they're like, oh no, she just really needed a family that she didn't know what it was. And it's just like, dude, stop. You're trying to give a redemption to a character I don't care about. You're literally giving her a sad backstory, and I do not give a frick. I do not care. Send her to the depths of the death or something. I don't know. Just, I do not care about her. I don't care about her kids' sad backstories. I don't care about her. Just get rid of her. Nope. The show decides to redeem her like all the other characters, and it's just like, fine. It's a thing. It's happening, and I don't know. Just, I kind of had a gripe with that. They never bothered to actually kill off any characters for real that aren't just random side characters who will never appear again. It just doesn't really hit, you know? I often feel like it was just not good. But overall, most of the time, I had a good time. Were there bad moments? Yes. Did I have a good time with the anime overall? Absolutely. The first 5 episodes in particular were really good, especially with episode 5's massive twist that I'll get to in a moment. But overall, most of the season was just kind of decent, with the first 5 episodes being really fun, then the last 2 to 3 episodes being decently good, with, you know, those minor little complaints I had, and the whole stuff with Dakini being the only real kind of downside to this whole show. But I don't know, just, I still had a good time, but there were some ups and downs. But yeah, leaving that there for now, the last major thing I want to talk about here is the big twist of episode 5. I mentioned before that Yukito was summoned to another world where gods don't exist. That's what the implication of this all is. However, it's later revealed in episode 5, after this character Klen is revealed to be Loki, one of the Archons that are like these all-powerful beings. I probably should have started explaining what Archons were before, but whatever. Basically, after all that gets revealed, we then get the biggest twist of the whole show. And that twist is that Yukito didn't actually go to another world. Instead, Mitama sent him to the future. In a future where gods don't exist anymore. Meaning that all of this stuff, everything that is happening to Yukito, is in the future. This is a time travel anime, not an isekai. It's a time travel anime. And when I learned that, it caught me completely off guard, because I really thought this was another isekai, since I enjoy isekais. I'm one of those isekai people. And I just was so caught off guard that we got pulled into this world thinking it was an isekai, but it was real to actually be a time travel anime. And yeah, that was awesome. Episode 5 is definitely one of the big highlights of the season, as it's just a really good freaking episode. It explains so much about this world and really lets us dive deeper into everything, especially with how, you know, we thought it was one thing, but it was actually another. Just the whole twist on that episode was so freaking good that it makes the first 5 episodes just overall a very good time. The whole thing with Dakini, as I mentioned, not a big fan of it, but the finale was not terrible. I didn't really care for the whole Gaia redemption thing. That really wasn't a thing for me personally, but everything else in that whole story arc was actually pretty interesting, and I overall had a good time with it. And yeah, the anime is not perfect, but for what it was, for how terrible it could be at times, I had a pretty dang good time. I really enjoyed myself, and yeah. Moving on to one final point of discussion, I kind of want to talk about the characters a little bit. The characters are, I don't know, just Yukito and Mitama are good characters, but everyone else just kind of is there. They'll do some reaction thing or be superly, overly expressive at times, but they're just there. They're doing their role. They're being the comedy. They're just, I don't care for them that much. The only exception is probably Bertrand, as I found her whole story of trying to readjust to things from being a guy to now being a girl to be kind of entertaining to watch. And basically, besides Yukito, Bertrand, and Mitama, most of the other characters are just kind of there for me. They're fine. They don't really do much for me personally, but if other people enjoy them, good for them. I'm glad they could enjoy these characters. But yeah, that's all I can really say. So we're at the conclusion of this video, and what are my final thoughts? Overall, I think KamiKatsu is a good anime. I'm not saying it's a great anime, but it's fun. It's an entertaining anime that gets the job done if you want to just turn your brain off and not think while you're watching something, because it's just fun. It's a fun anime that if you have nothing else to do during a day, you just want to kind of chill out, vibe, and relax, this is a good anime to watch. Provided you wear headphones and all of that, since there are a lot of moments that you do not want to have everybody in the world hearing about. But overall, I still had a very good time with this anime, and I enjoyed it. I wouldn't say it's perfect, I wouldn't say it's terrible. It's just that even though it's so laughably bad, I had an amazing time with it and really enjoyed myself. And yeah, I might be contradicting my words here a little bit, but I still enjoyed it. And that's why I give KamiKatsu a 7 out of 10. Something that you could just kind of enjoy, but don't question it, just roll with it and have a good time. And yeah, that's all I have to say, and thank you all for watching. If you're new to the JGC Anime channel, don't forget to subscribe. I always look new anime fans to the channel, and I will see you all around. Peace!